Hey folks, welcome to AsyncAPI community meeting, also known as SIG meeting, which is Special Interest Group. We recorded this meeting, so to whoever joined this meeting and do not want to be recorded, like for example visually, you can disable your video, but yeah, just please be informed that if you speak or write something in the chat, for the transparency reasons, we are gonna share it publicly on YouTube and with our community. So that's it if it comes to intro. David, I remember you joined the meeting a few times already, right? It's not your first meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
I've been on several of the contributor first and things like that.
Yeah, cool. So we're gonna start with your topic. So David proposed an interesting topic for the meeting today. I'm gonna share with all of you a link to the issue where there are more details. I had it opened.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool. Can you share it in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, you did. Thank you. So do you want to introduce the topic, or you want me to do it?
Sure, I can go ahead and do that. So several months ago, I was working on using AsyncAPI, and we were expressing the schemas and the messages using the one-of construct for the work we were doing. And we were trying to use the Node.js generator and found that at the time, it did not handle an AsyncAPI definition that used one-of. So I went in there and tried to contribute a fix for that, which I did. But in doing that, it just seemed to be very cumbersome for me to write the code generation to handle the one-of construct, because basically what I was doing was recreating the behavior that a JSON schema validator would be doing if you had a schema that used one-of. So basically, it looks like the AsyncAPI parser.js library parses, the one-of construct, and it returns it to you, but it gives it to you kind of broken up and says, okay, here's the elements of the one-of, and you can use each individual schema, and I can validate a message body against each of the individual schemas. But it doesn't give me the whole schema as a JSON schema that uses the one-of construct. So I basically have to recreate schema validation for one-of. And again, it's asynchronous, so you have to do the schema validation on each of the individual schemas. The semantics for one-of schema validation is exactly one of those subschemas has to be valid. So you have to validate all of them, and verify that only one of them matches, and then the overall message is valid. And that's just a lot of work that someone would have to do in every generator in order to handle one-of. So the proposal in this issue, number 372, is for the parser library basically to wrap all that stuff up and return an aggregate JSON schema that uses one-of, and then all the generator code has to do is take the message body and compare it to that aggregate schema, and let the schema validation itself handle all the one-of comparisons and things like that. So you don't have to, recreate that code in every generator. So I don't know enough about how and where the parser library is used to know what transformation is really appropriate for this. It's kind of spelled out in the issue. So I just wanted to bring it up to everybody to see, is there a good solution to this that we can embed into the parser to make it easier to write the generators. Is that clear enough for everybody, or are there any questions?
Just maybe a clarification question. So it's instead of going over each individual message and payload, you kind of want a wrapper around that can kind of validate all the messages that it should validate against. Right.
It's more at the individual message level. So in the async API definition, I'm defining a single message and it uses one of. So then at runtime, I've got a message that's coming in and I need to validate it. So it's just validating just that one message body against, in this case, multiple schemas. And I'd like to do it just against one schema.
Right. That makes sense.
And I was wondering if it falls into this discussion that we are having about intent-driven APIs. Because like the, like to answer your question, David, about like how parser works at the moment. First of all, there's no one way of doing things, unfortunately. So we have like, in general, we have approach that like we're in the API, we are reflecting the structure of the AsyncAPI document. So that's why when you call a function to get messages, you get an array of messages and not some much more useful function that would help in the template development. Of course, there are some exceptions from the rule. So we have some helpers like to get all the messages, all the schemas from the from the document. So it's not that we are like 100% aligned to only have functions that reflect one-to-one the structure of the document. And now, not sure, because David, you mentioned that you attended a few contributor first meetings. Did you maybe attend the one from yesterday?
No, I wasn't available yesterday.
Okay, because yesterday we were exactly discussing, actually not me, other folks were discussing. I was just in the backstage. We're discussing exactly the same topic, like so kind of parser JS 2.0 version, where we break this rule that we follow document one-to-one, and we simply have an API that is like intent driven. Like, so for example, when you want to, exactly like in the template, you want to validate incoming messages. And like, instead of using AJ file in a loop and go over the array of messages, it would be much easier that you get from the parser a combined one-off as you wrote in the issue, and then just use AJ file once. Now at least in my head, there's a question pops up. How strict we have to be with parser version 1, like knowing that there's a work on parser 2.0. If we see a problem that we add already some intents, did I say 1.0 or 2.0? So let me just repeat again. So we know that there's a work on 2.0 and this API design happens, but do we have to wait that long to, for example, already add some intents that we already know that would be useful? Because anyway, we have some already. I hope Jonas and Maciej can jump in with some comment. Or not.
So my feeling is that we can add it because we already have a circular schema, for example. And we have different other intents already, has functions as well as support functions. And this is basically the same thing. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't add it now and why it wouldn't make sense, because we already have it. And we can always take it with us to the intent API as well, because it's already an intent that's being used. Like, there is a use case behind it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I wouldn't say it's a blocker in any way.
Okay, so but yeah, we don't make decisions on the calls. So I would say because the use case is, I mean, for example, because I know a lot about this case because we were discussing with David actually on the in the Node.js template. So the use case is pretty good. And as David said, like it's not just for Node.js template. It's like the other template we have for Node, for example, the WebSockets one. It's the same situation. So I would say, like, because we don't make decisions on the calls, unless you want to add something more, David, I would say, like, let's just continue in the issue. I'll make sure that maintainers will jump into the issue, and let's figure out what would be the best way to do it, and not just think about like if it's needed or not.
Yeah, that's fine. Appreciate you guys taking the time to look at the issue and discuss it.
Yeah, no worries. It's actually good proof that like intent-driven API, it's the way to go, really, and to have it. Okay. So I see some more people joining. Okay, so next topics on the list. I just want to highlight few important things. I have 3 on the list. So one, I'd like to highlight that I just like 1-2 hours ago, I merged a PR that is introducing a automation to merge PRs using comments instead of just buttons, to make life easier, but also to trigger a cleanup of the privileges, the rights we have in the organization, because for now we had only a few people because we had to have right access for like default right access for all the members of the organization. But that should change. We should have all the people from TSC membership, and we should not have people that are not code owners for a repo, but they can actually merge some PRs in the repo where they are not actually managing. So that is merged, and now I'm gonna like slowly clean it out in every repo. If somebody wants to join, just ping me tomorrow. Not today, because I still am not 100% sure what really has to be, change in every repo. I will just learn it by doing it in few repos. I think it's just group membership and some other things, but yeah, some work to do. But the outcome will be that we don't have, like, we no longer have just a selected special group of people that can be members of the organization, but actually we will have the TSC members there. Any questions about this? So I'm gonna just share one link. So there's I started like a thread about it in our Slack last week. And now I'm gonna just put updates in this. I just don't want to put too much noise in any of the channels. Not sure how many people are interested actually with this topic. So I'm just basically updating the initial thread I started last week. So you can just subscribe to it. I'm gonna just like put it up to date, like put up to date information at what stage I am and when actually everything is done. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing, it's just 2 links that I want to share with you. Pretty important discussions in the community repo. So one is to start about starting collecting use cases. So I don't want to go into details of the discussion. I would like to more like try to address already some misunderstandings, not maybe misunderstandings, like I had got some follow-up questions, had to clarify a few things. So basically the idea behind this this discussion is to to like not only like facilitate like what has to be done to start collecting use cases. What did I want to say? I am on day V2, wait. Okay, let's just forget that the previous sentence happened. And let me try to say it differently. So just to clarify a few things about the discussion, because I had some DM discussions with some people from DevRel from other companies. Like, so just please remember, the idea is that we have to make it clear to the community that there are many different options to provide us with use cases. I think it's pretty clear that we cannot expect, even though it would be super nice to have people on public meetings, on conference talking about how they use AsyncAPI, but we can't expect every company is so open, like for example, eBay, to do it on their own. And we just need to also offer option to to have like private meetings, private interviews with these companies, offer them help writing the use case, and then at the end they just have to agree that their logo can be on the website and they agree with the final version of the use case. So they can use their internal processes in their companies when they have to approve every content that goes out about their company, because there are companies that are pretty liberal here and they don't control employees, but there are companies that have a lot of control, like when they talk about company outside company. There are sometimes really complicated processes to get acceptance from them. So this discussion explains that we can also do this private interviews. It's also a call for action, like to people like developer relation representatives, and but not only developer relations, like from other companies that could also join and make these interviews, so we can get more use cases. Because if it's just one person running it, it's not going to go much forward. So yeah, so that's just this clarification that it's definitely also an option to have private interviews. And also one thing, I talked with one person that it's difficult sometimes, for example, when you work for a vendor company and you want your customer to also talk about AsyncAPI, it's sometimes pretty difficult to convince them to have this discussion, like, because you don't have much to offer. Like, yeah, basically this. So I'd like to just clarify, like, we can always, like, we're pretty flexible here, especially like first 10 use cases, until we have nothing, we're pretty open to do anything to get them, right? So if some, like, to you folks or anybody watching the recording, like, remember, like, if your customer needs something in exchange, let's discuss, like let's chat. Maybe we can offer some workshop in exchange just for the employees of the company that wants to share use case, or I don't know, like anything, like some social media campaign thanking the company. That there are always some options that we could give in exchange. So don't get demotivated that we have nothing to offer. We always can try to offer something. And any comments to this? Do you have do you want to add something to this particular discussion? Okay, cool. So last but not least, one more discussion I started today, and I just want to explain why I actually started it. So let me just first share my screen, not share my screen, share the link. So this one is about, like, what should we do in 2022 from the community building perspective? So I tried to explain it in the discussion, but let me explain it verbally also for people looking into the proposal. So for me, January next year, it's like I'm kicking off a third year at like working full-time on AsyncAPI. 1 year I was paid by Open Collective, so I was doing everything for the project. So it was okay that I was pushing the a particular actions to build the community. This year, when we joined Linux Foundation, we still did not have like really, I mean, we had open governance model, but it wasn't yet working. We had to set up a TSC, we had to grow the TSC list. So I was still like, I was then hired by Postman to not worry about the money. And so I can still do my job for AsyncAPI. So I was still like feeling I can push the boundaries and like kind of push ideas that like something should be done under AsyncAPI. But I think like once we have now the open governance model, we have TSC group. Basically, the TSC should agree, I think, on these main goals of the organization for every year. It's not just, I mean, of course, I'm not leaving, so I still offer help to coordinate and lead some ideas. But basically, the idea is that like now whatever we do under like AsyncAPI umbrella, like some new initiatives, like one of them mentioned in the discussion about the AsyncAPI ambassador program, I think they have to be agreed by TSC. Like officially, we have them notified. They have time to interact, and then they can disagree. Like maybe that's not the best way to go forward with the community building approach. So I created this discussion basically to talk about these 3 main goals. And then in January, have a decision. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I just want to highlight this discussion. Have a look, because it will require, at the size of the community that we have now, it requires a work from many people, not just me coordinating anymore. So yeah, please have a look. If you would like me to clarify something now during the call, just feel free to ask. How are you doing? Fran raised a hand. You're asking if you can speak?
So how are you doing, man? I saw your Christmas hat and I couldn't resist.
Yeah, and it's I have to click somewhere and it's gonna blink even. But my girls broke it, I think. Those kids.
Just that. I just wanted to make this stupid thing.
We still have 30 minutes. We can run this meeting for 30 minutes. So did you notice that we already have December?
What December? We already had what?
December.
What do you mean?
It's the almost end of the year, and it's like yesterday was January.
Yesterday. We'll say it wasn't yesterday. I mean, I know you've been busy, but
like January, I'm gonna be 2 years already here. It's a lot.
Indeed, a lot of time, man. A lot of time. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with you that it will be a responsibility of the TSC, I will say that, to decide on the goals for next year. Ada agrees as well.
We need her in TSC.
Yeah, we need more diversity. So yeah, having a baby is a summum of diversity, I would say. Like, I guess no one has a baby on their TSC. we will be the first ones.
There's a question from the audience, Fran. What's the name of your friend?
It doesn't have. Yeah, it has a name. Boo.
Is
Boo. Yeah, not boo as in not boo as in boo, but as in boo. Yeah. It is scary for Ada, so that's why. Actually, it's not scary for Ada. It's a lot.
So what? Shall I close the call? The next call, let me check actually. I'm not sure if we don't have. Next call is before Christmas break, I think. 21st of December, but I guess we're still meeting, right?
21st.
21st. It's
Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
it's yeah, okay. So there will be time for
Look at
New
the
Year's. New Year's. My daughter is saying you, Lukasz, are wearing a Christmas helmet. It's because this thing is big. It was working. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. Have a good rest of the year.
Thank you, Lukasz.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Arrivederci. Arrivederci.